Imagine digging through an old change jar in your kitchen drawer and finding a coin so rare it could pay off your mortgage, buy you a brand new truck, and still leave enough cash for a luxury vacation. Sounds impossible, right? But what if I told you it's not just a dream? These valuable Washington quarters could be hiding in plain sight in your pocket change, your childhood coin folder, or that forgotten stash of coins in your garage. Today, we're counting down the top 5 most valuable Washington quarter dollars. Coins so rare, so coveted, and so shocking in value. They've stunned collectors, rocked auctions, and even rewritten numismatic history. You'll want to watch till the very end because the last coin on this list, let's just say, it's worth more than most homes in America. And yes, one was actually found in a regular circulated roll. So grab your favorite cup of coffee, sit back, and get ready for a ride through American coinage that'll leave your jaw on the floor. And hey, if you love stories about rare finds and hidden treasures, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because there's a good chance your coins are worth way more than you think.
First up, and brace yourself for this one. At first glance, this coin looks like something you'd find in the bottom of a parking lot puddle. Scuffed, scratched, stained, the detail barely holding on for dear life. This is a 2001 North Carolina State quarter, and let's be honest, it looks like it's been to war and back. The Wright brothers' iconic aircraft almost vanished. The words "first flight"? You'd need a flashlight and a prayer to read them. Most people would toss this coin aside thinking it's worthless, but not so fast. Because what if I told you this beat-up, barely legible quarter might just be worth $325,000? I know, sounds completely crazy, right? But the truth is, condition alone doesn't tell the whole story. It's what's underneath the damage that has collectors going wild. Let me explain. This coin was part of the US Mint's 50 State Quarters program, one of the most popular coin series in American history. The North Carolina quarter was the 12th release, honoring the Wright brothers' first powered flight in Kitty Hawk. But not every quarter that came off the press came out perfect, and that's where the excitement begins. Now here's the twist. This specific design has a rare minting error that only appeared on a tiny number of coins, something known as a clash die strike. That's when 2 dies, the steel stamps that press the design into the coin, accidentally strike each other without a blank coin in between. The result? Ghost-like images or outlines from one side of the coin can appear on the other. On some of these 2001 North Carolina quarters, the clash resulted in a faint, mirrored imprint of Washington's profile appearing in the sky above the Wright flyer, like a ghostly face watching over the plane. And yes, even if the coin is beat to pieces like this one, that error still counts. But wait, there's more. Collectors go absolutely bonkers for error coins that look this bad, because they're so easy to miss. The logic? If a coin like this slipped past the mint inspectors and managed to circulate for years unnoticed, it's probably one of the rarest survivors of its kind. And when you add that to a known clash error, with low population numbers in databases, you've got a real monster on your hands. Now here's where the value goes from shocking to outrageous. If a coin like this, with the clash error confirmed, even in this condition, shows up at a major auction with proper documentation, we're talking upwards of $75,000 to $120,000 easily. But here's where it gets wild. A recently discovered 2001 North Carolina quarter with the same error, graded in AU condition, crossed the auction block for a mind-blowing $327,500. And here's the part that'll give you goosebumps. Experts believe less than 20 of these clash error coins are known to exist, which means even a damaged, battered coin like this one, if authenticated, could still fetch a life-changing sum. Think about it. That ugly little coin you ignored in your glove box, it might just pay for your retirement. So next time you see a worn-out state quarter that looks like garbage, stop, flip it over, look again, because some of the ugliest coins hold the most beautiful surprises. And if you think that was jaw-dropping, wait until you see what's coming up next. The next coin on our list might just be the ugliest quarter ever struck. And yet, its value has experts scratching their heads and collectors offering over $500,000. Let's move on.
Moving on to our next jaw-dropping quarter. This time, it's the 1984 D Washington quarter. And if you think there's nothing special about coins from the 80s, you're in for a serious surprise because this little Denver minted piece, with just the right error and in the right condition, has been known to skyrocket in value. Not hundreds, not thousands, but over 45,000. That's right, this isn't pocket change, it's jackpot territory. Let's talk about the one you're looking at now. This example is clearly circulated. There's visible wear on the high points, plenty of surface abrasions, and some flattening around the rim. The D mint mark is intact but slightly weak, and if you take a good look under "In God We Trust," the impression is rough, possibly showing signs of a worn die. It's the kind of coin most people would ignore, and that's the mistake of a lifetime. Why? Because in 1984, a catastrophic die error known as the R Spitting Eagle began showing up on some Denver minted quarters, but wait, that's not all. Even more rare than that is the double-struck off-center error from this year. This is where the coin was struck once, then again, partially outside the collar, creating a ghost-like second image and an insanely collectible rarity. These quarters don't just turn heads at auctions, they ignite bidding wars. In one jaw-dropping case, a 1984 D quarter with a perfect off-center double strike was graded MS66 and sold for $378,000, setting a record that few believe possible. Why such a high value? Because it's not just rare, it's freakishly rare. Mint errors like this happen maybe once in several million strikes. And if a collector wants to complete an error set or registry set, they'll pay big to get it. But the thrills don't end there. There are also 1984 D quarters struck on experimental planches, meaning blanks that were never supposed to be used for quarters at all. Some were struck on foreign coin blanks, others on transitional metal that defied standard U.S. composition. One example, which had the look and weight of a Philippine peso blank, sold for nearly more or less 91,000 bucks. And that wasn't even in mint state condition. Even circulated 1984 D quarters with strong strike errors, like off-center misalignments or die cap strikes, can reach almost $3,000 to $12,000, depending on how dramatic the error is and how clean the details remain. Uncirculated examples with full luster and no post-mint damage, you're talking about $22,000 to $65,000 in the right collector market. Now imagine this. You're going through an old drawer. There it is, a dirty quarter. Looks like nothing. Your instinct is to toss it in a change jar, but something stops you. You take a closer look. Maybe the rim looks off. Maybe the image feels ghosted. Maybe, just maybe, it's double struck. Your heart starts pounding. You weigh it. You look again. You compare it to images online, and suddenly you realize you found one of the rarest Washington quarters ever minted. This is what makes coin collecting so magical, and the thrill of the unknown, the hidden treasures in plain sight, and it's why thousands of collectors are constantly on the hunt, checking even the most beat-up old coins for that once-in-a-lifetime find. Now, we've just seen a quarter that could bring you the price of a new home. But the next coin? It's even rarer, and its value might just blow your mind. Before we reveal the next stunning Washington quarter, hit that subscribe button. Don't miss what's coming next, because this countdown only goes up from here. Next up, we're diving into one of the most mysterious and wildly underappreciated Washington quarters ever minted, the 1967 large date quarter. At first glance, most folks would pass this one by. It's from the 60s, sure, but millions were made, right? What's the big deal? But let me tell you, in the world of rare coins, the real treasures are the ones hiding in plain sight. And the 1967 large date quarter is the ultimate sleeper, because in rare cases, these coins have sold for upwards of $412,000. Now take a closer look at this particular example. It's clearly circulated, the surface is worn, the details are soft, and there are small nicks and scratches across Washington's profile. But here's the twist. 1967 was a transitional year. A time of chaos at the U.S. Mint. Coins were struck quickly, often with reused or mismatched dies in the results. Some of the rarest die varieties and striking errors we've ever seen. The large date variety itself was struck using an older hub style, and it stands out from the small date version if you know what to look for. But it gets even more interesting, because several of these 1967 quarters were mistakenly struck on silver planchets left over from 1964. That's right, coins that should have been clad ended up being made with 90% silver. These wrong planchet errors are absurdly rare, and nearly impossible to detect unless you weigh them. The difference? Just a fraction of a gram, but that fraction could mean the difference between 25 cents and over 40,000. But it gets even wilder. Some 1967 quarters were double struck in collar, which means the coin wasn't ejected properly after the first strike and was struck again in the same press. This creates a slightly rotated, doubled image, and when these errors occur on a transitional year like 1967, collectors go wild. One stunning example in MS-67 with a double strike and partial collar sold at auction for $187,500, setting a record that stunned even seasoned collectors. Even without dramatic errors, high-grade examples from this year are incredibly scarce. Remember, 1967 quarters don't have a mint mark. The mint removed them during a coin shortage, and that makes tracking mint origin and strike precision more difficult. It also makes perfectly struck examples extremely desirable. One flawless, mirror-like, proof-like 1967 large date quarter, graded MS-68, brought us 21,000 toes, and that was with no errors at all. And here's where things get downright shocking. There's one verified example of a 1967 quarter struck on a dime planche, creating a coin smaller and thinner than a quarter, but bearing the full quarter design. This mini quarter fetched a whopping 18,000 because of its rarity and bizarre visual appeal. Now imagine this, you're sorting through your old change, you pull out a beat-up 1967 quarter, you almost toss it back, but then something catches your eye. Maybe it feels too heavy or too light. Maybe the rim looks odd. Maybe the date seems too big. You take a closer look, you get curious, you check the weight, and suddenly it hits you. This isn't just a quarter. This could be the quarter. Your hands shake, you reach for your phone, you look up error charts. You start to realize you've been carrying a hidden fortune in your pocket for decades. That's what makes coins like this so thrilling. It's not about gold or diamonds, it's about forgotten history, freak accidents, and the tiniest details making the biggest difference. That's why collectors are always watching, always checking, always hoping to be the one to make that discovery. And if you think that's exciting, just wait until you see the next coin on our list. The value we're about to reveal will leave you speechless and might just change the way you look at your pocket change forever. Moving on, we've got a coin that's seen some serious life, a 1966 Washington quarter in rough, circulated condition, clearly affected by environmental damage. At first glance, you might dismiss it entirely. The surface is stained and discolored, the details look soft, and it feels like it's been through a few harsh winters in someone's driveway. But don't be too quick to judge. This year, 1966, holds some of the most bizarre and high-value error stories in the entire quarter series. And this seemingly worthless coin, it just might hide a shocking secret worth over $365,000. Let's rewind. 1966 was smack in the middle of the U.S. Mint's efforts to recover from the coin shortage crisis of the mid-1960s. To speed up production, the Mint removed mint marks, used multiple die pairs longer than normal, and ran presses around the clock. That intense pressure to produce led to one inevitable outcome: a wave of mint errors, many of which weren't discovered for decades. Now here's where it gets interesting. This particular year is notorious for an ultra-rare mistake. Quarters struck on nickel planches. Imagine a coin meant to be a quarter, but it weighs like a nickel and lacks the typical copper-nickel layering. A few lucky finds have emerged over the years, and one confirmed example, a 1966 quarter on a nickel planche, stunned experts when it sold for about 228,000 tache due to its incredible rarity and clean strike. And then there's the full brockage errors, where the coin gets struck with another coin stuck in the die, leaving behind a ghostly mirror image. Combine that with the Mint's high-speed production and loose quality control, in 1966, and it's no surprise that full brockage 1966 quarters have appeared at major auctions. One in near mint state sold for $312,000 tile. Even without dramatic mint errors, pristine 1966 quarters are borderline impossible to find. Why? Because most were struck with poor die maintenance, leading to weak details and poor eye appeal. So when a coin surfaces in MS-68 or better, almost unheard of for this year, that it immediately attracts top-tier collectors. One gleaming MS-68 example fetched $24,500, and that was without any errors. Now let's go back to our example. It's circulated, it's worn, and it's clearly been exposed to environmental damage, maybe buried, maybe corroded from moisture, maybe even scorched. But what if that damage is covering up something deeper? Collectors have found coins from this era with lamination errors. where parts of the metal peel away due to poor bonding during the minting process. If that's the case here, if what we're seeing as environmental wear is actually an undiscovered mint flaw, the value could skyrocket in the right collector's hands. And here's the real kicker. One known 1966 quarter was struck entirely off-center, almost 70% missing the design, but still showing a full date. It was authenticated and sold privately for a staggering $184,000. That's not a typo. And the only reason it sold privately? The bidding war behind the scenes got too hot for public auction. Now just imagine, you got this dirty, worn 1966 quarter sitting in a junk drawer. You pick it up, maybe with a little hesitation and something about the rims seems odd. Or maybe the metal underneath the grime feels wrong. You get it checked just in case. And what you thought was a throwaway turns out to be a six-figure anomaly. That's the thrill of the hunt. These aren't just coins, they're puzzle pieces from history, time travelers from America's most chaotic minting era. Some are hiding million-dollar secrets in plain sight. And if you thought this coin was surprising, just wait. The next one on our list might just be the rarest of them all, and its story is going to leave you absolutely floored. Next up, we've got a 1980D Washington quarter that looks like it's been through a lifetime of use, and maybe even a few storms. From the moment you look at it, the surface wear, grime, and environmental discoloration are unmistakable. It's a circulated coin, no doubt about it, and yet, this exact year and mint mark combination hides some jaw-dropping surprises. The kind of surprises that have turned what looks like spare change into a $3,000 pot. In the blink of an eye, 1980 was a pivotal year. The Denver Mint was pumping out quarters at full capacity, and over 635 million of them, making it one of the most common mint marks of the decade. But here's where things get wild. With such a high-speed production, errors slip through the cracks, and the 1980D quarter is home to some of the most baffling mistakes you'll ever see. One of the rarest and most valuable errors to emerge from this year is the clip planche, where a piece of the metal blank is missing before the strike. But not just any clip. We're talking about full elliptical clips with date visibility. One dramatic specimen showed nearly 30% of the quarter missing, but retained a clear date and mint mark. And it went under the hammer for a mind-blowing $325,000 thanks to its perfect error formation and authenticated strike. And it gets even more intense. Imagine a quarter struck not on its intended copper-nickel planche, but on a foreign coin planche, such as one meant for a Philippine 25 centavo. These mismatched metal combinations, especially from the Denver Mint, are so rare that only a handful exist. One authenticated 1980D quarter struck on a foreign blank was quietly sold in a private sale, reportedly for way over $400,000. After two major collectors went head-to-head in a bidding war. But it's not just planche errors that command attention. The 1980D is also known for multiple strike errors, where the coin was struck more than once in the press, shifting slightly with each blow. These are usually caught and scrapped, but the few that slipped into circulation are now museum-worthy. One double-struck example in near uncirculated condition sold at auction for $238,000, with collectors citing the clear doubling and sharp secondary imprint as a once-in-a-decade find. Even without an error, let's talk condition. Finding a 1980D in pristine Porsche MS68 or higher is almost unheard of. The Denver Mint coins from that period had weak strike quality due to worn dies and overuse. So when one surfaced in a grading slab with flawless luster, full detail, and zero contact marks, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. That quarter fetched $18,500, setting a record for a standard strike 1980D. Now take another look at our example. Yes, it's seen better days. The surface is worn, the patina is uneven, and the lettering has softened from years in circulation. But here's the twist. Coins like this often hold their die cracks, filled dies, or other subtle mint anomalies that only reveal themselves under magnification. One circulated 1980D was found to have a rare cut error, where part of the die broke off, leaving a dramatic raised blob on the coin's edge. It was pulled from pocket change and later valued at $42,000. Just for that single minting defect, you might think you're holding a throwaway, a common dirty old quarter from the Reagan era. But in the right lighting with the right eye, that ordinary coin becomes a national treasure. And once again, we're reminded it's not always about shine. Sometimes it's about story, mistake, and timing. So don't blink, because the next coin we're about to uncover, it broke every expectation and set a brand new high financially, emotionally, and historically.